Up to this point, with all our pivot tables, we've only had one value in the pivot table, and we've shown different ways to look at it with averages or by different categories. Well, in this module, we're going to learn how to put multiple data points in a pivot table and how that can be effective in communicating your information. Okay, so let's get started. And we are on the multiple data points tab, and we have a small pivot table here. And we have customer, category, and the sum of sales. Now, what if we also want to see the count of sales in addition to the sum of all of them? Like how many products did we sell for this time period in this category? What we're going to do is we're going to go over to our pivot table builder and find sales again. And we're going to click and drag that and put it underneath the sum of sales. So now we have sum of sales 2. Not a great name, but let's go ahead and fix this up so you can see how it works. So now the first one is sum of sales. And then sum of sales 2, they're the exact same. They've got the totals there. Let's start with sum of sales 2. That's going to be our number. So I'm going to go over here and click on my value field settings. And I'm going to change the sales name to be total sales. And I'm going to change the number format to be currency with 2 decimal places. Well, let me take the decimal places away. We don't really need those for total of sales. Okay, and now we want to see the count of sales over here. So look on the other one. Let's go down to our values area again. Click on value field settings. And this time, we're going to have a count of sales. And down here in the summarize value field by, going from sum, we're going to change that to count. Click OK. And there we have it. We have the count next to the total sales. They're built off the same data point. They're both built off the sales value field in the pivot table, but one's a count and one's a sum. Well, let's try something else here. I'm going to go ahead and add a second pivot table. So what we're going to do to make it easy is we're just going to select this pivot table, click somewhere here and do Control A, and then Control C to copy. And let's put that one over here, another pivot table. And now we've got count of sales and total sales. We want to get the minimum, maximum, and average sales too. So let's go over here, and I'm going to add 3 more sales fields and get rid of those 2. I'll add 1, 2, 3. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to have it be the minimum. So we'll say min of sales, and then that will be the minimum. Click OK. And actually we need to make that currency format as well with no decimal places. And for the middle one, we're going to make that the average sales. So go to average, and that'll just be the average of sales. Change it to currency. Click OK. And the last one will be the max of sales. And you see if I click on the different aggregate, Excel will go in there and change the custom name a little bit, so that actually might be good enough. And then we'll click OK. So now we've got the minimum, average, and maximum sales for that grouping. So here it looks like we only had 1 sale. If I want to look, I can go back to my other pivot table and say, yep, only had 1 sale for $4,200. That's pretty useful to be able to have multiple different value fields. Now I want to show you something else that's interesting too. Once we did that, once we had more than 1 value field, over in our pivot table builder area, we had another little pill show up, and this one just says values. That only shows up when you have more than 1 value here. And what it's doing is it's saying, since I'm in columns, I'm going to align those multiple points into columns. Min of sales, average, and max. But you can have that be part of the rows too. So watch what happens here. If I click on values, let me scroll up a little bit first so you can see it better. If I click on the values pill and drag it down here under category, now it's put all 3 data points on a row basis versus being in the columns. So now under beverages, I have min, average, and max. I can see it that way. And then down here we have those subtotals again. Maybe we don't want those subtotals, and that's where we could turn those off. So now we have just a pivot table showing the min, max, and average of sales for each customer in each category. Now this is kind of a neat thing because what we did is we made another pivot table out of this, and this will be kind of a building block to building a dashboard. There's a lot of times where you can want a lot of information, but it makes more sense to have it in multiple pivot tables that are kind of shown in the same space together versus having everything on just one pivot table. If we put 5 fields over here on this one, that would get really, really busy. So to summarize, we just went through how to add multiple values to a pivot table and how to change those to be different aggregates so that you can get a little different picture of your data. And if I roll these up, same thing. I can get it for the customer level because I have 3 data points. Those are going to stay together. All right, well, let's get ready for the next lesson.